Chapter 904. Gu Mengmeng pressed her lips gently against Elvis's and did not pull away. She allowed Elvis to take the initiative and deepen the kiss. After a long while, when both of them were short of breath, Elvis finally let go of her. Just as he was about to flip over and press her down to do something indescribable, Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, "Now, you can already resist the fox seductive fragrance, unless I wake it up with a kiss." Elvis was stunned for a moment. Then, he felt that the fire in his body seemed to be subsiding bit by bit. That bewitched and irrational feeling gradually returned. His heartbeat returned to normal and his breathing gradually calmed down as well. Looking at Gu Mengmeng, who was being pressed down by him, Elvis frowned and asked, "What happened?" Gu Mengmeng smiled and sat up with her arms around Elvis's neck. "I tried the bewitching spell to give you an extra insurance, in case someone uses the fox seductive fragrance to abduct you while I'm asleep." Torturous. Elvis clenched his teeth. The fire in his body was forcefully extinguished. He was really annoyed but could not bear to bite her. He flipped over and sat up, hugging her in his arms. Sighing helplessly, he returned to the topic at hand. "You have the purest fox seductive fragrance on you and you've learned the bewitching spell, so when do you plan to treat Sandy?" Gu Mengmeng rubbed her brows and said hesitantly, "Sandy is pregnant now and it's not suitable for her to travel long distances. If I remove the bewitching spell on her now, she will definitely reveal herself. I'm afraid that Cole will use more violent methods to deal with her next time. So I want to wait until she gives birth before removing the bewitching spell. Then, I will send her back to St. Nazaire to avoid Cole." "Will Cole let her go so easily?" Elvis expressed his doubts. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and chuckled. "Someone who has been lonely for an entire winter should be coming to find me soon." Elvis thought for a moment and laughed as well. "You want Wabi to escort Sandy back?" Gu Mengmeng nodded. But Elvis said, "Aren't you afraid that he will eat Sandy when he's in a bad mood?" Gu Mengmeng shrugged. "I'll just say that Snake asked him to help me protect Sandy. In that case, he would rather eat himself than eat Sandy." "All right. With Wabi holding the fort in St. Nazaire, it will be difficult for Cole to extend his hand there." Elvis nodded in approval of Gu Mengmeng's plan. Leah, however, raised his face and placed his hands behind his back. He leaned his upper body backward and said, "I don't think so." Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah with a questioning gaze. Leah said, "How could Cole not be prepared for anything that we can think of? I'm afraid that Wabi has already fallen into his trap. Getting Wabi to escort Sandy might be part of his plan." Gu Mengmeng's heart sank. "That's right, how could a person like Cole forget about Wabi? Besides, even if we send Sandy away, what can we do? Unless you can hide all the people you care about, he will always have a way to scheme against you one by one. So, I'm afraid hiding Sandy is not a good idea." Leah held on to Gu Mengmeng's little hand and said, "It's safer to protect your own weak spot in your own arms." "You mean, you want me to keep Sandy by my side and protect her myself?" Chapter 905. But Sandy. Gu Mengmeng was still very worried. Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's little nose and said, "Have you forgotten that Cole and I are now in a cooperative relationship? If we want to let bygones be bygones and cooperate seamlessly, we should at least show some sincerity. What do you think?" Gu Mengmeng frowned, not understanding what he meant. Leah smiled and said, "I will go talk to him and ask him to undo the bewitching spell on Sandy." Gu Mengmeng was surprised and asked, "He will listen to you?" Leah said, "If he knows that you have the purest fox seductive fragrance and have learned the bewitching spell, even if he does not understand, you can undo it yourself. Do you think he will?" Gu Mengmeng thought about it and understood Lee's meaning. If Gu Mengmeng did not have the fox seductive fragrance and did not know the bewitching spell, she would be begging for mercy if she went to Cole. But Gu Meng Meng now had the purest fox seductive fragrance and had learned the bewitching spell. If she went to Cole now, she would be giving him a chance to show his loyalty. Of course Cole would not give up. Nodding, Gu Meng Meng asked, "Then what should I do?" Leah swayed his tail and smiled. "Nothing. Giving him a chance to express his loyalty doesn't mean that you have to accept it." Gu Meng Meng laughed and poked at Lee's brows. "You are so naughty, but I like it." Gu Meng Meng felt much more relaxed now that she had a direction to resolve Oakley's and Sandy's matters. At dinner time, the three little ones returned to the stone castle after playing around. They were all stunned when they saw Gu Meng Meng, before quickly pouncing into her arms. Gu Meng Meng looked at the three little ones and her mood strangely improved. The three of them were clearly only slightly over a year old, but in their half-orc state, they looked like 8 or 9-year-old kids. They looked young but not like 2 or 3-year-old kids. It was a small pity that Gu Meng Meng had never seen her own children in swaddling clothes. They had maturity that did not match their age, and this made up for Gu Meng Meng's other regrets. "Let's go find your mother-in-law and have dinner together, all right?" Gu Meng Meng was still worried about Sandy. When the three little ones heard this, a trace of resistance and awkwardness appeared on their faces. They took 2 steps back and said with some hesitation, "Mom, it's better if you don't go." Why? Gu Meng Meng remembered that they had a very good relationship with Sandy. Head aside and replied, "Mother-in-law's thoughts are in a mess now. If you go over, you have to be prepared to keep explaining that Qi Xian is the child of you and Cole, as well as twist the facts to prove that you and Cole are partners." Gu Meng Meng's head started to hurt too. But Sandy was pregnant now, and her mind was sensitive. If she was left alone to let her imagination run wild, it would not be good for her and the fetus. Moreover, she was her first child, so there was no room for any mistakes. Looking at Elvis and Leah, she said helplessly, "The scene might be a little awkward. Do you guys want to accompany me?" Elvis stood up and hugged Gu Meng Meng in his arms. "I will accompany you." Leah also stood up and patted the dust off his body. "Then I will go and see Cole. If I can convince him, I will bring him to Sandy to remove the bewitching spell." Chapter 906. When Gu Meng Meng arrived at Sandy's house, she saw Bode preparing food for Sandy. Colin was squatting at the door pitifully, turning his head to look into the house from time to time. It was obvious that he had been chased out. When he saw Gu Meng Meng, Colin was taken aback for a moment before he suddenly stood up and ran over. He looked at Gu Meng Meng expectantly and asked, "Is there a solution?" Gu Meng Meng did not reply and just patted Colin's shoulder. She then jumped down from Elvis's arms and led the three little ones into Sandy's stone house. The males in the house were all very cautious. Sandy sat at the corner of the bed with his face facing the wall, obviously not intending to talk to anyone. Gu Meng Meng gestured for them to keep quiet. Sandy's males nodded and did not dare to say a word. Gu Meng Meng walked to Sandy's back and placed her little hand on Sandy's shoulder gently. The moment she touched it, Sandy flung her shoulder fiercely and said angrily, "Don't touch me. You liars, don't touch me." Gu Meng Meng laughed out loud and placed both her hands on Sandy's shoulders. She then leaned close to Sandy's ear and whispered, "Who is so daring to lie to my little Sandy baby?" Sandy was taken aback. When she turned around and saw that it was Gu Meng Meng, she finally relaxed and smiled. She turned around and pulled Gu Meng Meng's little hand to sit beside her. Seeing the three little ones standing in a row with the males in the house, not daring to come close to her, Sandy felt very wronged again. She twitched her lips and said, "Even you guys want to treat me like this?" The three little ones shook their heads in unison but did not say a word. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and said, "All right, go and play with Uncle Colin. Don't disturb me from chatting with your mother-in-law." The three little ones felt as if they had been pardoned and ran out with a grin. Sandy felt wronged and looked at Gu Mengmeng with watery eyes. Gu Mengmeng, what do you think I should do? Why can't I understand some things? Gu Mengmeng gently smoothed out the frown on Sandy's forehead. Haven't you heard of pregnancy making you stupid for 3 years? Ha! Sandy was dumbfounded. Then, he nodded, indicating that he had never heard of it before. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, you have to give a portion of your intelligence to your babies now. The dumber you are, the more intelligence you give to your babies and the smarter they will be. This is a good thing. It proves that my godson will be clever and lovely children in the future. Oh. Sandy listened to Gu Mengmeng's nonsense with a serious face and agreed with her. Gu Mengmeng did not feel guilty for lying to a pregnant lady and continued, what can't you figure out? Ask me. Well. It's been less than 3 years since I gave birth, and my IQ isn't very high right now, but I'm still willing to use my few remaining brain cells to answer your questions. Say it, what do you want to know? Sandy pursed her lips and said, you and Cole haven't reconciled yet. As expected, everything that Sandy could not understand definitely revolved around Cole. Gu Mengmeng nodded. I don't intend to reconcile with him. Chapter 907. Gu Mengmeng pretended to be in deep thought and did not speak for a long while. Looking at Sandy's worried expression, she suddenly smiled and nodded. All right. Since my precious Sandy is pleading for him, I will not abandon him. Cole was not Gu Mengmeng's partner. Even if she wanted to abandon him, she could not. So Gu Mengmeng did not lie to Sandy. Sandy heaved a sigh of relief and continued. Gu Mengmeng, I think I know why you are angry. But I just can't remember why you and Cole fought to the extent that you are not allowing him to return home. Also, Qi Xian is a wolf and Cole is a fox. Why do I remember that Qi Xian is your and Cole's child? Gu Mengmeng chuckled. This is what you can't figure out. Sandy blinked innocently, as if waiting for Gu Mengmeng to clear her doubts. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head with a smile. I am the daughter of the beast deity. I have the genes of hundreds of beasts in my body. Of course, the children I give birth to will mostly depend on their father's race. But there is also a chance that they will inherit my genes. Hede and his brothers inherited their genes from Elvis, but Qi Xian inherited mine. Well, who knows, I might have a few little bears with Leah next time. Aw. Sandy stared at Gu Mengmeng in bewilderment. Really? Gu Mengmeng nodded earnestly. I am such an awesome person. I am someone who can fly 90,000 miles into the sky. What? Sandy did not understand. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. It means that I can fly into the sky at any time and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Sandy burst out laughing. She tapped Gu Mengmeng's brow and said, I've spoiled your ability. Gu Mengmeng also laughed out loud. Is there anything else you can't figure out? Ask me all at once. I will answer you. Sandy felt much better now that she had resolved the issue of Cole and Qishuan's relationship. It was as if Gu Mengmeng had smashed a huge rock that had been pressing down on her heart. She felt much more relaxed. Her tone also became lighter. You still haven't told me why you quarreled with Cole to the extent that you are not allowing him to return home. Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and said, Ellie, do you still remember? Sandy nodded to show that he remembered. Gu Mengmeng said in disdain, I found out that he and Ellie had an affair. What? Sandy slammed the table and stood up, glaring angrily at him. Gu Mengmeng did not doubt that if Cole was standing there, Sandy would rush forward and fight him to the death. Gu Mengmeng tugged at Sandy's arm and said, calm down, calm down. You're a pregnant woman, so you need to know how to control your emotions. It's not good for the baby to be overjoyed or angry. Sandy gritted his teeth and sat down. How dare he? Gu Meng Meng shrugged and said, "Catching an adulterer in bed, used shoes make a pair. I saw it with my own eyes, how can it be wrong? No wonder you were so angry that you didn't want him anymore. How shameless." Sandy was infuriated. She wanted to curse, but she suddenly realized that she had no words to describe her disgust. Gu Meng Meng patted Sandy's back to calm her down. "Now do you know why he only told you that he angered me and asked you to help him plead for leniency, but did not tell you what he did wrong?" Chapter 908. Gu Meng Meng could not stop giggling. This was the difference between Sandy and Oakley. Even if Sandy was hypnotized, Gu Meng Meng was still the most important person in her heart. Gu Meng Meng tugged at the indignant Sandy and pointed at Colin with her chin. "Now do you understand why they all said Cole is not my partner?" Sandy bit her lower lip and nodded. "Cole did such a thing and all the males are ashamed of him. They are naturally unwilling to talk about his dirty deeds. Moreover, Colin was once your guard. Even in front of me, he still has to protect your image." "I misunderstood Colin." Gu Meng Meng nodded. "So, can we let Colin go home now?" Sandy blushed. "Colin, I am thirsty. I want to drink water." Colin's ears had been pricking up. He was stunned by Gu Meng Meng's nonsense. Sometimes, he almost suspected that Gu Meng Meng was speaking the truth. So, in terms of bluffing, no one could beat Gu Meng Meng. When he heard Sandy call his name, Colin gave Gu Meng Meng a thumbs up in his heart. She was indeed the great messenger. She had a glib tongue and her teeth were as sharp as steel. "Coming, coming." Colin used the small bamboo cup that Gu Meng Meng had given Sandy previously to fill a cup of water and passed it to her. His honest face had a flattering smile and his voice was filled with flattery. "Drink slowly, don't choke." Sandy drank a small cup. She then looked at Colin with a red face. "This winter, you have suffered. I will make it up to you." Gu Meng Meng almost choked on her own saliva. Just by looking at Sandy and Colin's expressions, she knew what she meant by, "make it up to him." "Then, I will bring the 3 little ones back first. I think, you guys should be quite busy too." Gu Meng Meng felt that she could not stay any longer. Otherwise, what if Sandy and Colin pulled her over to chat while having fun? The beast world was so open to such matters. Sandy would definitely do such a thing. "Accompany me for a while more." Sandy held Gu Meng Meng's little hand and begged. Gu Meng Meng smiled as she rubbed Sandy's little head. "You better accompany Colin. I will return to the territory first. I'll come and see you tomorrow, okay?" Sandy glanced at Colin shyly before nodding her head, before reluctantly letting go of Gu Meng Meng's hand. When Gu Meng Meng walked past Colin, she patted his shoulder and said earnestly, "I know you've been a vegetarian for the entire winter, but Sandy's tummy can't take any more torment. Be more gentle." With that, Gu Meng Meng walked out of the cave with a blushing face. Every time this happened, Gu Meng Meng would resent Snake for giving her a pair of sharp ears. She had already been running all the way, but she still could not shake off the sounds behind her. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng running out with the 3 little ones with a flushed face. Combined with the sounds coming from the cave, he instantly understood what was going on. So he did not ask any more questions and just scooped Gu Meng Meng into his arms before striding away. When they returned to the stone castle, Leo was squatting at the entrance, resting his chin on his hands as he stared at their way back in boredom. Chapter 909. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. She looked at Leah and frowned. She felt that there was something wrong with Leah, but she could not pinpoint what was wrong. She sized Leah up, met his long and affectionate eyes, and then looked at his pretentious and sly look. Gu Meng Meng smiled self-mockingly. Perhaps it was because she was scared of Cole's schemes that she saw something wrong with everything. After dispelling her suspicions, Gu Mengmeng asked, "You met Cole?" Leah nodded as a reply. Gu Mengmeng asked again, "What did he say?" Leah said nonchalantly, "He made a deal with me. As long as I give him one thing, he promised to remove Sandy's bewitching spell and never find trouble with her again." Oh. Gu Mengmeng raised her brows with an unfriendly expression. She asked nervously, "What does he want from you?" Leah shook his head and said, "I can't tell you now. You will know when the time comes." Gu Mengmeng frowned and said with a serious expression, "You remember what you promised me, right?" Leah nodded and held Gu Mengmeng's hand to kiss it. He said, "Don't worry, I know what I am doing. Elvis and I will not do anything that will make you sad." Gu Mengmeng nodded and did not say another word. The three young ones requested Gu Mengmeng to look for Burke in front of the stone castle. Gu Mengmeng agreed. So in the huge stone castle, there were only Elvis, Leah and Gu Mengmeng. Elvis started a fire and Gu Mengmeng said she was hungry, so she asked Leah to roast some meat for her. Lee's actions were skilled and he quickly roasted the meat. Gu Mengmeng took the roasted meat and slowly brought it to her mouth. She looked at Lee's expectant gaze but paused before biting into it. I can't pretend anymore." Gu Mengmeng threw the roasted meat away without a trace of a smile on her face. She looked coldly at the person sitting opposite her and said, "Cole, don't tell me you think I would recognize my own man wrongly." The person sitting opposite Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment. He held his forehead and smiled bitterly. He shook his head helplessly and said, "I knew you would see through me, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. Can you tell me, where is the flaw this time?" Speechless, Gu Mengmeng said, "Can you remove this illusion for me first? Seeing you use Lee's face to talk to me makes me very angry." Cole tugged at his hair and said innocently, "You want to hit me but can't bear to." Gu Mengmeng ignored him and turned to look at Elvis. "Hubby, in your eyes, who is he?" "Elvis, Cole." Gu Mengmeng nodded, then stood up and retreated to one side, saying, "Then beat him up." Elvis did not reply and just stood up silently. His aura was fully unleashed, and his killing intent was unbridled. Cole waved his hand and said, all right, don't be angry. I will answer your question first, all right?" Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and crossed her arms in front of her chest, not saying a word. Elvis caught Gu Mengmeng in tacit understanding and wrapped his arms around her shoulders. He instantly retracted his killing intent and just stared coldly at Cole. Cole was still sitting at the same spot and had no intention of getting up. He just said, "I propose to deal with him. Let me be Leah for a day and I will remove the bewitching spell on Sandy. Then, I will never find trouble with her and use her to threaten you again." But Leah rejected my proposal, so I could only use other methods to temporarily keep him in the meeting room. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. Susu continued to save chapters with all her might. Chapter 9-10. What did you do to Leah? Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and asked. Cole smiled but did not answer. Instead, he asked, "Then, now it's your turn to answer my question. Let me be Leah for a day. At this time tomorrow, I will remove the bewitching spell from that half-orc female and return the real Leah to you. How about that? Are you in on this deal?" Gu Mengmeng took a step forward. The Beast King's pressure had already started to spread around her. Her face was dark and gloomy. It was frighteningly cold. "I am asking you, what did you do to Leah?" Faced with Gu Mengmeng's anger, an instinctive fear spread throughout Cole's body. And this fear of death made him unusually excited. "So, you have decided to kill me?" Cole smiled sinisterly. "I knew it. I knew you and I are the same kind. Anyone who obstructs us deserves to die." Killing to stop killing is the way to rule the world. Come, my dear master, please do whatever you want to me, whip me, and then kill me. It is my honor to be the first skeleton on your journey to greatness. With that, Cole opened his arms wide and looked at Gu Meng Meng with an expectant and longing gaze. Gu Meng Meng could not bear to kill him, she was disgusted. She just wanted to kill someone, not play some perverted S&M game with Cole. Why the hell was he so excited? Gu Meng Meng had goosebumps all over her body. She frowned and took a step back in disgust. It was as if Cole had some weird infectious disease on his body. Let me. Elvis tilted his head and asked Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng touched her left ear gently. The mark on her ear was still there and she did not feel any discomfort. She knew that as long as Leah was in danger or suffered from serious injuries, her mark would feel pain. And if Leah died, the mark on her ear would also disappear. Now that the mark was fine and did not feel anything strange, it meant that Leah was at least safe. From what Cole had said just now, he had already predicted that he would be exposed. But he still came. Then, it could only mean that he had nothing to fear. In other words, if she really killed Cole, Leah would be the first to die with him. Qi Xian would be the second. In that case, Oakley and Sandy would not be able to escape. In order to kill a pervert, he had to sacrifice 4 of his closest friends. This was not a good deal. Gu Meng Meng took a deep breath and sat back by the fire. She stared coldly at Cole and said, "Keep your perverted face to yourself. You're disgusting me." Cole looked at Gu Meng Meng in disappointment. "You're not killing me again." Gu Meng Meng snorted coldly and said, "You have all the people important to me in your hands, aren't you trying to coerce me into not being able to kill you? Why are you pretending to be eager to die now? If you really want to die, then return my people. As long as they are safe, I will fulfill your wish to die. There are thousands of ways to die for you to choose. I guarantee that you'll die, and I guarantee that you'll die. If you don't die, you'll die for free." Cole chuckled and said, "So you thought that I gathered them to save my life? Ah, Gu, you don't understand me." Gu Meng Meng frowned and did not comment. Chapter 9:11. As long as you kill them, you will no longer have any weaknesses. Nothing in this world will be able to threaten you, you will be the supreme deity, the most perfect ruler. Cole said those crazy words with a face full of longing. It was as if the blood-stained world had already appeared in front of him. The smell of blood had already surrounded him and he could feel the blood in his entire body boiling. Gu Meng Meng was really speechless. The person in front of her was a lunatic and should be locked up in a mental hospital for treatment. If you want to rule the world so much, you can just do it yourself. Why must I do it? Cole looked at Gu Meng Meng bitterly. His eyes flickered with endless resentment. You are my master, how can you be ruled by me? I am not your master. Don't call me by such a disgusting name. Gu Meng Meng's attitude was clearly filled with disgust and disdain. Cole did not seem to mind Gu Meng Meng's disgust. Instead, he looked as if he was enjoying it. All right, I will not call you master anymore. I will only call you. Ah, Gu. Gu Meng Meng was so disgusted that she wanted to beat him up. But the price of killing this fellow was too high. I will endure. Ah, Gu, I have already answered one of your questions. Isn't it time for you to answer me? Cole grinned at Gu Meng Meng. How did you know that I am not Leah? Where did I go wrong? I clearly imitated him very well. Gu Meng Meng took a deep breath and said in an extremely disdainful tone, imitated? How so? You are a fake from head to toe. Unless I am blind, I can't tell. Cole smacked his lips. He had a helpless expression on his face. He looked down at himself and shook his head with a smile. A fake can imitate the original perfectly. But if the original imitates a fake, it will be nondescript. TSK, it is indeed not advisable to go against the flow. But, can you tell me which detail made you so sure that I am a fake? Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes. Leah does not hide any secrets from me. As long as I ask, he will definitely tell me the truth. Leah will never tell me things like, I can't tell you for the time being. Cole nodded and said, I see. Gu Meng Meng said, since everything is out in the open now, can you remove this facade? I'm really annoyed when I see you bearing Lee's face. Cole shook his head and said, so, you don't intend to accept my suggestion? Sandy's bewitchment, it's fine even if you don't understand, I'll remove this illusion. Gu Meng Meng narrowed her eyes. Are you threatening me? Cole thought for a moment and nodded. I guess so. So, what do you plan to choose? Will you accept my threat? Should I endure the fire in my heart, or give up on removing Sandy's bewitching spell? Gu Meng Meng laughed coldly and asked instead of answering, didn't Leah tell you that I can also use bewitching spells and that I'm better at it than you? Cole nodded and said, he did. With that, Cole looked at Elvis and said, I have also personally witnessed your abilities. Gu Meng Meng also turned back to look at Elvis and understood that Cole was referring to Elvis not being bewitched by the illusion. It was just a small experiment on Elvis as insurance, but she did not expect it to be used so soon. Chapter 9:12. No, it's the exact opposite. Cole maintained his usual smile, with a tinge of elegance but more of craftiness and maliciousness, as though everything was within his calculations. He said with certainty and confidence, it is precisely because I never dared to underestimate Gu that the bewitching spell I placed on Sandy is a dead knot. Unless I personally remove it, otherwise, even if I use a stronger power to stack the bewitching spell, it will still trigger the bewitching spell I placed on Sandy and she will die on the spot. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. She frowned and her heart twitched. Luckily, she did not recklessly remove Sandy's hypnosis spell today, but came up with a lie to fool her. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. At this point, Gu Meng Meng's gaze towards Cole was filled with even more hatred. She said coldly, how can I be sure that you are not lying to me? Cole seemed to be pondering over this question, but he suddenly smiled and said, when have I ever lied to the great messenger? When they kidnapped the little wolves, she was the one who voluntarily came to ask for help. He said that Ellie and a 5th-level master kidnapped the little wolves, but he never denied that the master was him. The wound on his chest was caused by Ellie's bite, and it was true that the little wolves were brought back to the Snake King Valley. He had only lured her into the trap step by step, but he had never told her a lie in the real sense. How could it be so ironic? He was a scumbag who was despised by Gu Meng Meng to the point of being useless, yet he still had a fine quality of honesty. You schemed so hard to scheme against Sandy just to be Leah for a day. Gu Meng Meng felt that this was very strange, wasn't it? Cole nodded and said, I'm just very curious, what made that trash who only knows how to struggle in the mud, bare his teeth and clamor, break free from my shackles? I also want to experience life after letting go of my hatred, and what exactly is left of it. Gu Meng Meng clenched her fists. Leah had told her before that Cole's interest was not in killing, but in torturing others. She suddenly felt that Jiaoyu's words were too true. A normal person would never win against a lunatic. He would pull you into his vicious thinking cycle, then use his rich experience to defeat you. After all, he was really crazy, while you still had your rationality and a bottom line. Gu Meng Meng leaned into Elvis's arms and said, if you want to know, you have to let go of your hatred and try. No matter how well you imitate him, you are not Leah. Not to mention one day, even if you were given a lifetime, you would never know what he had and what he had obtained. Who knows? Cole chuckled. I just want to try. Great emissary, are you willing to discuss this deal with me? I will only be Leah for one day. Tomorrow, I will completely return Sandy to you. Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, but Leah never makes me wait for the things I want. If it was Leah, he would not let me worry because of Sandy. As long as he could do it, he would immediately remove the bewitching spell on Sandy. What about you? If it's for me, can you do it too? Cole deeply agreed with Gu Mengmeng's words. He smiled at Gu Mengmeng, his gaze filled with indulgence and love. I can do anything for Ah Gu. With that, Cole stood up and walked to Gu Mengmeng's side. He reached out to hold Gu Mengmeng's hand but was blocked by Elvis. He said coldly, "Do you want to die?" Chapter 9:13. Cole clenched his fists and smiled. You cannot challenge the authority of the first partner, it is a family rule. I got carried away for a moment, I apologize. Elvis ignored him, follow the family rules. He, Cole, was not qualified to do so. Gu Mengmeng returned but Sandy and Colin's entanglement had not ended. When she walked near them, Gu Mengmeng's face was full of awkwardness. She was so anxious to hypnotize Sandy that she had forgotten about the matter of compensating Colin. How about tomorrow? Gu Mengmeng hugged Elvis's neck and asked. Elvis knew how worried Gu Mengmeng was for Sandy, and Cole was a dangerous and uncertain factor. Who knew if he would disappear after saying that he was willing to remove the bewitching spell for Sandy? No need. With that, Elvis shrugged his shoulders and started emitting the pressure of a fifth-level orc. Cole was taken aback at first. Xian Ji smiled and rotated his neck, also starting to emit his beast pressure. Gu Mengmeng did not understand what was going on at first until she saw Colin stumbling out of the stone house. That expression was really amazing. Gu Mengmeng was even more embarrassed than before. Damn it, would Colin get sick from being forcefully interrupted? Won't it affect Sandy's happiness for the rest of her life? Gu Mengmeng felt a little guilty. Elvis did not mind and said, if Colin can't do it, don't we still have Bode and the rest? Don't worry, Sandy will not feel aggrieved. Pfft, there was such a benefit to having more husbands? There was a backup. Looking at Colin, Gu Mengmeng said guiltily, Colin, I've wronged you. Elvis did not bother about Colin at all. He estimated that Bode and the rest had cleaned up Sandy and directly walked in. When he passed by Colin, he said, in order to protect Sandy's life, not to mention impotence, even if we skin him alive, he would not even frown. Colin was speechless when he heard Elvis's words. Elvis was stunned. Gu Mengmeng did not say anything else and just followed Elvis to the door of the stone house. Bode and Sandy's other partners each supported Sandy out. Sandy looked at Gu Mengmeng with a blushing face and asked shyly, Gu Mengmeng, are you looking for me? Gu Mengmeng really felt that it was immoral to interrupt him at this moment, so she was at a loss for words and did not know how to reply. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not reply, Sandy looked to her side and saw Cole. Because she had Cole's bewitching spell on her, Cole's current disguise was ineffective in front of her. Her large, watery eyes immediately lost all traces of innocence. She pulled Gu Mengmeng from Elvis's arms and used her as a shield. Her bare claws immediately flashed out. She glared at Cole and Elvis with wariness and hatred. Elvis, I didn't expect you to be such a person. My Gu Mengmeng is really blind, why did she choose you as her first partner back then? Gu Mengmeng and Elvis were dumbfounded. Why didn't they scold Cole but Elvis? If it was someone else flashing their claws so arrogantly in front of Elvis today, Elvis would definitely break that person's neck before he could even finish saying his name. However, the person in front of him was someone he couldn't afford to offend. Not for any other reason but because if this crazy bear died, Xiao Meng would definitely be sad. However, he could tolerate her arrogance, but he could not tolerate one thing. You're Gu Mengmeng. Chapter 9:14. Sandy was usually timid and adorable, but when she got serious, she was not weak at all. She was willing to risk her life for Gu Meng Meng. Disregarding the fact that she was pregnant, she glared at Elvis with a, "If you want to touch Gu Meng Meng, you have to do it over my dead body," attitude, not giving in at all. Bode and Colin were so scared that their calves were cramping up, afraid that Elvis would rashly slap them with his claws. That would be the end of one corpse. But Sandy did not care at all. She stood in front of Elvis and Leo like a mother hen protecting her chicks. Stiffening her neck, she said, "Yes, it's mine. So what?" With that, she pointed a bare claw at Cole and said furiously, "This scum did something shameless with Ellie. As Gu Mingming's first partner, why didn't you kill him? You actually allowed him to wander around Gu Meng Meng and disgust her. From this, it can be seen that you don't care about Gu Meng Meng at all. Even if you don't cherish her, I will. As long as I, Sandy, have a bite to eat, I will not let my Gu Meng Meng starve. You two shameless bastards, get lost." Elvis's face turned green and white from Sandy's scolding. He gritted his teeth and looked at the little person hiding behind Sandy, who was gloating at his misfortune. Seeing how she was smiling so widely that her eyes were curved into a line, but she was still trying her best to hold it in, just like a silent phone with the vibration mode switched on. That smug look on her face instantly extinguished the fire in Elvis's chest. How long had it been since she last smiled like this? It seemed like she had not done any pranks ever since Snake died. He had not seen that sly and mischievous smile on her face for a long time. Just based on that smile, he could tolerate Sandy's scolding no matter how harsh it was. Moreover, although Elvis felt that it was unnecessary, he still treasured the friendship of having one more person who was willing to risk everything to protect Gu Meng Meng. In the worst-case scenario, even if Sandy did something even more rude today, so what? As long as Gu Meng Meng still treated Sandy as an important friend, Elvis would not do anything to hurt her. After his anger subsided, Elvis could only smile helplessly. He took a step to the side and circled behind Sandy to carry her in his arms. Then, he signaled Colin and Bode to restrain Sandy, who was about to snatch her from his arms again, with a glance. He then said leisurely, "I brought him here today to let you seek justice for Xiao Meng. How do you think we should kill them? Come up with an idea, and I'll execute it." Sandy stopped struggling and looked at Elvis quietly, asking, "Really? Are you siding with that scumbag?" Elvis shook his head and said, "In this whole world, I will only side with Xiao Meng." "That's more like it." Sandy finally heaved a sigh of relief. She then turned around and stared at Cole fearlessly. "Let me tell Cole, just saying your name makes me feel disgusted. You and Ellie did that kind of thing, yet you still acted innocent and pitiful in front of me. You wanted to brush it off with a light sentence of, 'I did something wrong,' and made her angry. I, Sandy, was blinded by lard to put in a good word for you in front of Gu Meng Meng. But now, I know everything. Let me tell you, I will never help you again. If you still have a little bit of conscience, you should go to the platform of the deity's punishment and ask the beast deity to cleanse your dirty body and soul." Aside from the topic. Chapter 9:15. When had Cole ever been scolded like this before? Although he was not as respected as Big Brother and Leah, he was still the second highness of the Messenger's tribe. Who would not be respectful in front of him? Even when his father was still alive, he had never reprimanded him like this. Sandy's scolding was a strange experience for him. He felt that he should be angry. But for some reason, he could not be angry. Maybe, was it because he had grasped onto a very important piece of information? "Ah, Gu, you care a lot about the matter between Ellie and me. Are you jealous?" Cole's smile was filled with a sense of contentment. He tilted his head and looked past Sandy, landing his gaze on Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had originally made up a lie to cover up the loophole in the bewitching spell that Cole had placed on Sandy. Now, it was hard for her to defend herself. Laughing dryly, Gu Mengmeng said, "Do what you have to do, don't care about those useless things." But Cole tapped his chin lightly with his finger and said, "But, this is the first time I have been scolded in my entire life. After being scolded so harshly, I should at least get to the bottom of it, right? If what she said is true, then I am willing to be scolded. But if she is spreading rumors, why should I save someone who is slandering me?" From what he said, if she did not admit that she cared a lot about the matter between him and Ellie, he would not save Sandy. Gu Mengmeng was so angry that her teeth were itching, but she did not want to let him have his way. But Sandy could not just leave her be. If she were to overlay the hypnosis, it would cause harm to Sandy's body. Gu Mengmeng did not want to risk Sandy's safety. After weighing the pros and cons, Gu Mengmeng decided to say something against her will. She stared at Cole, trying hard to believe that the person in front of her was Leah. Just as she was about to speak, she saw a bare paw smack onto Cole's shoulder. Even Cole staggered from the slap and stumbled to the side. He stared at Sandy with a malicious gaze, his sharp claws and fangs flashing. Almost instantly, he instinctively attacked Sandy. Bode and Colin had been paying attention to Sandy's movements. Naturally, they had long discovered her movements, but it was too late to tell her not to act rashly. Thus, they could only make the most basic defensive response in an instant. Bode pulled Sandy back and protected her in his arms. He turned around and faced his back to Cole. Colin stood in front of Bode and used his own arm to catch Cole. After Colin and Sandy had mated, they were already third-level beasts. In the beast world, they were already considered to be above-average masters. Under normal circumstances, they were more than enough to protect a female. However, under normal circumstances, this did not include fighting against level 5 orcs. Even if Cole was a crippled beast, he had stayed at the peak of 5th level for so long. In addition to that, he had received solder systematic training and had fought many stray beasts in secret. His abilities, if they were to really fight, he would at least be on par with Elvis now. How could a level 3 Colin withstand it? With this slap, Colin's arm immediately folded up in a weird position. It looked like it was fractured. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback by the sudden turn of events and rushed to Colin 2 seconds too late. Colin was half a step away from Gu Mengmeng and his nose was almost touching Cole's face to face. Chapter 9:16. Cole was taken aback and immediately retracted his murderous aura. He smiled elegantly as if nothing had happened just now. Rubbing his nose, he said, "I'm sorry, maybe it's because I've been fighting with the Grim Reaper for the past half a year and had an instinctive reaction to being attacked." His gaze landed on Sandy and Cole's eyes darkened. This female, she actually made Gu care so much. What to do? He seemed to be a little jealous. But such an important person had to be saved for the most exciting moment. Smiling, Cole said, "All right, I apologize. Even if you want to punish me, let me remove the bewitching spell on her first." "All right." Gu Mengmeng took 2 steps back and pushed Bode away with a slap. This fellow was only a 2nd-level beast. Elvis and Cole released their beast pressure at the same time and he was so scared that his legs were trembling. But even so, he still protected Sandy with all his might. This made Gu Mengmeng's impression of him even better. Bravery was never about being fearless. It was about choosing to stand out to protect her even though you were clearly afraid. Her best friend had the same taste in men as her. Although this first partner was slightly weaker, he was more sincere. Gu Mengmeng pushed Bode away and held Sandy's little hand, hugging her gently to calm her emotions. Sandy's bare paws slowly turned into chubby little hands as she returned Gu Mengmeng's grip. But her eyes were still glaring at Cole with hatred, unwilling to back down. Gu Mengmeng patted her back lightly and said, "All right, my little Sandy baby, don't be angry at him. It's not worth it. It's better to let Elvis handle things like enforcing the family rules. You, just help me decide if I should slice him or shred him, braise him or steam him." "That'll do." Sandy was taken aback and said, "Oh. You want to eat him?" Gu Mengmeng laughed out loud and said, "I don't have such a heavy taste. What I meant was that you just have to help me think of ideas. Leave the physical work to the males." Sandy nodded and said, "I also know that I can't beat him, but I can't stand the fact that he dared to speak to you in such a righteous manner after treating you that way. It's so infuriating." Gu Mengmeng nodded in agreement. That's right, that's right." Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not blame her for being nosy, Sandy felt more at ease. She then held on to Gu Mengmeng's arm and said, "I feel that since he did something wrong, he should go to the platform of the deity's punishment and let the beast deity punish him." Gu Mengmeng agreed without hesitation. "All right, I'll listen to you. Then I'll give you a chance to vent my anger on my behalf. Go and personally sentence him." Sandy nodded and walked in front of Cole with her chest puffed out. Just as she was about to speak, her eyes suddenly glazed over and there was not a single bit of light in her eyes. She felt as though her soul had been sucked out of her and she fell limply to the ground. Gu Mengmeng reacted quickly and caught Sandy. Bode also rushed over and took Sandy from Gu Mengmeng into the stone house. Gu Mengmeng looked at Cole, who was still smiling. "The bewitching spell has been removed, so, do I have to go to the platform of the deity's punishment to receive the beast deity's punishment? If I kneel on the platform of the deity's punishment for 3 days and don't die, you won't be angry with me and Ali anymore?" "Ha!" Gu Mengmeng laughed and said, "Cole, you seem to be able to run horses on your forehead." Cole did not understand and tilted his head to look at Gu Mengmeng. Chapter 9:17. Cole was not a fool and naturally understood Gu Mengmeng's meaning. She was saying that she did not care whether he and Ellie had anything going on. His Gu really knew how to torture him. Just as he was about to say something, Lee's voice rang out behind him. "How's the role-playing game going?" Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and looked at Leah, who was behind Cole. He was in a sorry state and had countless wounds all over his body. And under his armpit was the unconscious Qi Xian. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. She immediately ran towards Leah and asked with concern, "What happened?" Leah gently hooked Gu Mengmeng's chin. "Are you asking me or him?" Gu Mengmeng knew that this heat was referring to the unconscious Qi Xian. She also knew that Leah was throwing a tantrum to ease her emotions. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. After calming herself down, she replied, "I am asking you too, what is going on?" Leah looked at Gu Mengmeng, who had calmed down in satisfaction. He then pointed at Cole. "In order to impersonate me and experience life, this great Cole actually made Qi Xian harm himself to pester me. He kept hurting himself and forced me to not leave him behind, but he forgot that I am a witch doctor. I have many ways to make a mere first-level beast docile. Harm himself." These 2 words made Gu Mengmeng's heart skip a beat. She subconsciously went to check on Qi Xuan's wounds. Leah held Gu Mengmeng's little hand. "Don't worry. Although we wasted some time, he did not hurt himself." Gu Mengmeng then looked up and gently caressed Li's face. He treasured this face the most. Now, there were 2 hideous wounds below his eyes. They were just a finger's width away from his eyes. If they were just a little further away, his eyes would have been crippled. Gu Mengmeng's heart ached. She wanted to touch him but was afraid that it would hurt him. She could only ask softly, "These wounds were caused by Qi Xian?" Leah nodded in grievance. He looked like a little wife who had been abused by her mother-in-law. "Yeah, Qi Xian scratched me. It was very painful. Before Gu Mengmeng could say anything, Li's expression changed. He looked at Cole with a sinister and evil gaze and said, "But this debt will be on Lord Cole. After all, it was you who instigated our family's immature child." Cole responded with the same sinister sneer. "Of course it should be on my tab. In any case, the accounts between you and me are quite frequent. It doesn't make much difference if we add one more or one less." Leo was not angry, his voice was as calm as the night sky under the moonlight, so cold that it could penetrate one's bones. "Then, I have already returned. Can we end this game of pretending to be Leah for a day?" Cole shook his head and said, "I have already removed the bewitching spell from Sandy's body, so it's as if I have already paid for it. Naturally, I have to complete this one-day trip to the end so that I won't feel wronged." Leah, oh. A disguise that has been seen through by everyone, what meaning is there in continuing to exist? Cole replied, "So what if I see through you? Maybe Gu wants me to continue staying here. After all, the order I gave Qi Xian was to keep you occupied for a day." Gu Mengmeng instantly understood what Cole meant. If she did not want Cole to stay, then Cole would hold Qi Xian accountable for not completing his orders. But this child, Qi Xian, was so loyal to Cole. In order to complete his orders, he did not hesitate to attack Leah and even hurt himself. But Chapter 9:18. I will let you stay, but only for this day. Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth. Cole smiled and nodded. All right. Gu Mengmeng glared at Cole. But you must promise not to make things difficult for Qi Xian. Cole nodded and promised. I promise not to make things difficult for him because of this. Gu Mengmeng nodded and ignored Cole. She took Qi Xian from Li's arms and handed him over to Elvis. Hubby, bring Qi Xian back to the stone castle and settle him down. I want to stay behind and wait for Sandy to wake up. Let Leah accompany you. No matter how powerful she was, he would never learn to trust her. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Colin is injured. Leah can take a look at him. Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's brow and then carried Qi Xian over his shoulder. He exchanged a look with Leah before leaving. Cole was treated like air by Gu Mengmeng the entire time. She could only see Leah. They clearly had the same face and body, but she could easily tell who was who between the two of them. How did she do it? Cole was getting more curious but did not pursue the matter. He just followed behind Gu Mengmeng wherever she went. Leah walked to Colin's side and pulled up his broken arm. He snorted and said with a look of disdain, "Useless." Colin lowered his head and did not dare to retort. Leah used a tree branch to fix Colin's arm in place. To think that you had to give up your position as the messenger's guard. You are just like a bear, placing you beside my Gu Mengmeng. You are really bringing down my Gu Mengmeng's glorious image. All right, Leah. Gu Mengmeng rarely saw Leah speak so sharply. Every word he said pierced right into someone's heart. Colin was just a third-level beast. Gu Mengmeng felt that he was already very manly for daring to stand in front of Cole to protect Sandy. This was an honorable injury and should not be treated like this by Leah. Leah turned to look at Gu Mengmeng with a resentful gaze. Your heart aches. Did you really like him back then? Gu Mengmeng pinched Li's waist harshly. What nonsense are you spouting? Is it something a human would do to steal one's best friend? What do you take me for? Leah immediately mumbled timidly, don't be angry, I won't say it, all right? As he spoke, Leah had already fixed Colin's hand in place. Unsure if it was intentional or not, Li's finger kept tapping on the fixed branch, causing Colin's entire arm to go numb. He gritted his teeth but did not dare to make a sound. You're not allowed to take this branch off. Keep it there until Sandy gives birth. Do you understand? After saying that, Leah then stopped tapping his fingers on the tree branch and pounced towards Gu Mengmeng, hugging her whole body. He rubbed the side of her face coquettishly and said, Mengmeng, I don't like it when you protect other males. I'm jealous. Gu Mengmeng felt helpless towards Li's unscrupulous words of jealousy. She could only turn around and stroke his head that was on her shoulder, saying, I'm not protecting Colin, it's just that, it's immoral to bully an injured person. Leah kissed the side of Gu Mingming's face and said, I'm not bullying him. I'm telling him that if he wants to protect his own female, sacrificing himself is not enough. Becoming stronger is the only way out. First, he has to have the ability to protect himself. Only then can he better protect the people important to him. Digression. Alright, today's update has ended. Chapter 9:19. A person who suppresses his own level and refuses to level up, using himself as a bait to teach others how to become stronger. Gu Mengmeng still felt angry and her heart ached when she recalled Li's decision. Leah smiled devilishly and poked Gu Mengmeng's little face with his finger. Then, he straightened his joystick and hugged Gu Mengmeng in the crook of his arm. He smiled and said, Little fellow who loves to hold grudges, haven't I already changed? Moreover, our family situation is different from his. We have a strong enough Elvis in our family, that's why I dare to be a weak Leah. But in their family, he is the strongest. If he becomes a crippled beast, Sandy's entire family's battle power will be greatly reduced. Throwing Sandy's safety to the back of one's mind for a moment of bravery is really stupid. Undeniably, Li's words were not wrong. From an objective point of view, Colin must ensure his own safety and raise his abilities as soon as possible. That was the greatest guarantee for Sandy. Sacrificing himself in exchange for Sandy's temporary safety today was indeed a reckless move. If they were not around today, Cole could have just killed Colin before going after Sandy. By then, would Sandy still have a way out? But in the face of danger, where would one have the time to think so much? He was just relying on his instincts to protect the people most important to him. Gu Mengmeng still felt that this was not something he should be scolded for. Colin did not want Gu Mengmeng and Leah to fight because of him, so he lowered his head and said in a naive voice, Gu Mengmeng, don't blame Leah. The only reason he's willing to treat me is because of your good relationship with Sandy. Usually, males in the tribe would fend for themselves when they are injured. If it wasn't for Leah, my arm would definitely be crippled. If I became a crippled beast, I would definitely leave on my own so as not to be a burden to Sandy. So, not only did Leah give me an arm, he also saved my life. Moreover, what he said is right, I must become stronger to protect Sandy. Fine, one was willing to take the hit while the other was willing to take the hit. It would seem like Gu Mengmeng was being a busybody. Gu Mengmeng smacked Colin's arm harshly, causing him to howl in pain. Gu Mengmeng, however, clapped her hands and said, It's good that you know. Hurry up and improve your skills. If there's another situation where you are helpless when Sandy is in danger, I will bring Sandy away to stay with me. This time, not only Colin, even Leah had goosebumps all over his back. Sandy and Gu Mengmeng staying together. Then where would he and Elvis stay? What a joke. Glaring at Colin, Leah gritted his teeth and said, You, from tomorrow onwards, take out half a day to report to Elvis for special training and quickly improve your abilities. Colin hurriedly nodded and promised, Okay, I will work hard. Gu Mengmeng could not be bothered with these two fellows and wanted to get down from Li's arms to see Sandy, but Leah refused to let go. It's rare that Elvis isn't around, let me hug him. You want to see Sandy, don't you? I'll take you there. Sandy is a female. Gu Mengmeng was implying that it was not convenient for him to enter. But Leah smiled slyly and said, I am a witch doctor. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed and thought to herself, You are abusing your power to seek personal gains. Chapter 9:20. Sandy was still unconscious. Bode sat beside her, holding her little hand nervously. He stared at her intently, not moving an inch. Leah did not stand on ceremony at all and lifted his leg to kick Bode to the side. Bode looked at Leah and did not dare to make a sound. Firstly, Leah was a witch doctor and it was beneficial for Sandy that he was willing to take care of her. Secondly, he glanced at Gu Meng Meng, who was placed beside Sandy by Leah. She was the messenger of the beast deity, the biological daughter of the beast deity. She was the amalgamation of thousands of blessings. If she stayed by Sandy's side, she might bring her good luck. Moreover, perhaps the beast deity would look after Sandy and Gu Meng Meng because they were good friends. Most importantly, in Sandy's heart, Gu Meng Meng was even more important than her partners. If she woke up, she would definitely want to see Gu Meng Meng first. So, Bo did not say anything and just turned to walk out. He wanted to find some food to cook so that Sandy would not be hungry when she woke up and it would be too late. Gu Meng Meng did not have time to bother with Bode. She just held Sandy's little hand and gently stroked the stray hair on her forehead. She said softly, "Sandy, be good and don't make me worry. Quickly wake up, alright? You still have a baby in your tummy. It's not good for the baby if you sleep for too long. Didn't we agree that once your baby is born, you will recognize me as your godmother? You don't even know, my 4 little cubs have grown up and they don't even kiss me. I really miss the times when they were fluffy and acted like a spoiled child by my side. I plan to use the few in your tummy to satisfy my own fluffy fetish. So, quickly wake up, alright? Give birth to a few chubby and fluffy little fellows for me to play with." Sandy seemed to have heard Gu Meng Meng's words. Her delicate brows furrowed before she slowly opened her eyes. She curled her lips and looked at Gu Meng Meng. She opened her mouth and only replied after a long while, "All right." Gu Meng Meng could not help but laugh. She helped Sandy sit up and teased, "You agreed just like that. Your mother's heart is really big." Sandy was also smiling. It was a good thing that Gu Meng Meng liked her child, why would she not agree? With a slight headache, Sandy did not speak his mind. She used her hands to support her body as she sat up straight and looked at everyone in the room. When her gaze landed on Cole, Sandy shuddered and instinctively tightened her grip on Gu Meng Meng's hand. She looked at Cole warily. "Why are you here? What are you doing? Hada and the rest. What did you do to the wolf pups? Give the wolf cub back to me, give it back to me." Gu Meng Meng hugged Sandy lightly and patted her back, saying, "Sandy, don't be afraid, I am here." Sandy's body stiffened and she allowed Gu Meng Meng to hug her. Then, her head was in a mess and she felt a sharp pain as if she was being stabbed by needles. After a long while, her thoughts slowly returned to normal. How she had been threatened by Cole to go out alone, how she had foolishly believed that Cole and Gu Meng Meng were partners, and how she had even helped Cole and Gu Meng Meng get together. Bit by bit, everything returned to normal. Chapter 9:21. What nonsense are you talking about? Gu Meng Meng rubbed Sandy's little head and said, "Don't think too much, as long as you are well, I will be at ease." Glancing at Bode who was busy at the door and Colin who was holding a tree branch in his hand, Gu Meng Meng sighed and said, "Seeing that you are fine, I am relieved. I'll go back first. You and Colin take care of yourselves. When you've recovered, let's return to St. Nazaire." Sandy nodded and hugged Gu Meng Meng again. She did not get off the bed and just watched them leave. Cole followed Gu Meng Meng all the way. He knew that Gu Meng Meng didn't want to acknowledge him and that she didn't want to see him, but he just wanted to follow behind her. The fact that they had the same destination already made him happy. Returning to the stone castle, Gu Meng Meng saw Elvis stepping on Qi Xian. Gu Mingming's brows twitched. He had just come back and witnessed a scene of domestic violence. Elvis. Gu Mengmeng rarely called Elvis by his full name. Elvis's brows twitched as he felt that he could not explain himself. As long as it was something related to the four young ones, Gu Mengmeng would always stand firmly on their side regardless of whether they were right or wrong. Now that she had seen herself stepping on Qi Xian, even if he spouted all sorts of nonsense, he would still be in the wrong in her heart. You must feel wronged, far from it. After all, he had really beaten up Qi Xian. But his heart ached and he did not want Gu Mengmeng to be angry. Hence, Elvis immediately let go of Qi Xian without any principles and walked up to Gu Mengmeng to admit his mistake. Xiao Meng, don't be angry. I was wrong. Cole was taken aback. He knew better than Leah what kind of person Elvis was. After all, he had watched him grow up. Actually, he had once wanted to groom Elvis to replace Peter as the leader of the stray beasts. Unfortunately, this brat was unromantic. So many females were stripped and thrown in front of him, but he actually treated them as food and ate them directly. A little brat who couldn't even break through the third-level boundary really couldn't take on such a big responsibility. But just based on his ruthlessness, Cole still had the intention to groom him. However, he actually ran away in the end, letting down his efforts of nurturing him down in vain. But the Elvis who jumped out of the pit covered in blood and devoured his only brother without saying a word, was now, as docile as a dog, immediately wagging his tail and begging for forgiveness when his master called his name. His Gu was really capable. Not only did she tame the unruly Ninth Highness, she even tamed the bloodthirsty Elvis. Gu Mengmeng had no time to care about what Cole was thinking. She just jumped down from Li's body and pushed Elvis aside to walk to Qixuan's side. Seeing the bruises all over Qixuan's body, her heart ached terribly. Qi Xian struggled free from Elvis's legs and wanted to retaliate, but when he saw Cole returning with Gu Mengmeng, he suppressed his anger and stood obediently at his original spot. He lowered his head to look at Gu Mengmeng and called out, "Mummy, sorry for making you worry." Chapter 922. Qi Xian didn't object and just stared straight at Cole. Gu Mengmeng pinched her brows and sighed. She also looked at Cole and braced herself. "Leah, what are you doing? Aren't you going to come over and let Qi Xian take a look?" Cole's lips curled into a faint smile. See how easy it was to control Gu Mengmeng. He didn't need to control Sandy and Oakley at all. Just Qi Xian alone could easily make her submit. Walking to Gu Mengmeng's side, Cole hesitated for a moment. But he still imitated Leah and rested his chin on Gu Mengmeng's shoulder. Gu Mengmeng, who was 1.72 meters tall, was really too short for him. Moreover, he was not as used to this action as Leah and Elvis. Even though he had practiced it countless times in his mind, it was his first time actually doing it. So he was still not used to it. The way he bent over made him look like a little lobster. Gu Mengmeng shrugged her shoulders impatiently. She glanced sideways at him. "Don't push your luck. My patience has always been short." Cole raised his hands and took 2 steps back in a surrendering manner. He smiled helplessly. "I just wanted to experience it, but I'm really not used to it." Gu Mengmeng ignored him. She just took the medicine from Leah and stuffed it into Cole's hands. "Apply the medicine on my son. If even a single scar is left on his body, I will skin you alive." "Is that a reward?" If she was the one who personally skinned him, Cole's lips curled up. It was as if he had thought of something exciting and interesting. Yeah, full of anticipation. Gu Mengmeng was really speechless. But for Qixuan's sake, she had no choice but to tolerate it. Cole also knew when to stop. If he really angered her, he would definitely not be able to continue today's experience. He didn't want to give up so early on such an interesting experience. So Cole bent his knees and sat down. He patted his thighs. "Little Xian, come here. I will apply the medicine for you." "Yeah." Qi Xian was so docile that it was as if he wasn't the one who had wanted to fight Elvis with bloodshot eyes. He obediently lay on the ground with Cole's thighs as he allowed Cole to rub the herbs onto his body bit by bit. Even though the pain was so intense, he acted as if he couldn't feel it and didn't dodge at all. Gu Mingming's heart ached for her son, but there was nothing she could do. She could only turn to glare at Elvis and vent her anger. "You really don't feel heartache when you beat him up, right?" Elvis clearly knew that Gu Mengmeng was venting her anger on him, but he did not explain himself. He just wrapped his arms around her waist and brought her into his arms. He summoned his beast ears and fluttered them twice before lowering his head to deliver them to Gu Mengmeng. "I know I was wrong. Let me let you pull my ears, all right?" Gu Mingming's little hand touched Elvis's ears. She hardened her heart but couldn't bear to really pinch it. She only pulled it a few times before letting go. She straightened her neck and glared at Leah. Leah flew into Gu Mingming's arms. He rested his chin on Gu Mingming's knees and supported his cheeks with both hands. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng with his pure white beast ears quivering. He smiled in a fawning manner. "Mengmeng, do you want to pinch my ears?" "You haven't pinched my ears in a long time here, pinch them." Gu Mengmeng was nestled in Elvis's arms, but this slut was lying on her knees. She frowned. "Scram as far as Mars is." Chapter 923. Gu Mengmeng had a nosebleed. It was not because of Li's teasing, but because their current position was a little, indescribable. Elvis and Leah were both tall and muscular. She was nestled in Elvis's arms while Leah was sticking close to her. Be it Leah or Elvis, they could easily cover her up so tightly that no one could see a single strand of her hair. So, from any other angle, it looked like Leah was lying on Elvis's chest and muttering to herself. And because Elvis was looking down at Gu Mengmeng, the visual effect was that he was looking at Leah with a face full of love and adoration. F***K. Gu Mengmeng once again recalled the misunderstanding when she just transmigrated here. Leah and Elvis did not know what she was thinking about and just panicked when they saw her nosebleed. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and dashed out of the door without saying a word while Leah followed behind. If not for Cole's fifth-level power, he might not even be able to see how the two of them ran out. What happened? Cole did not understand, but he still stood up and chased after Elvis and Leah. There was no stream near Solder, so Elvis ran a little further this time. When he finally reached the stream, he carried Gu Mengmeng and jumped in without saying a word. Gu Mengmeng was dumbfounded the entire time. She did not know why Elvis ran, and in order to not have a stomach full of wind, she could only keep her mouth shut tightly. Finally, Elvis stopped, and before she could even say, "What happened?" both of them fell into the water with a splash. They choked and coughed non-stop. Leah, who was following closely behind, patted her back to soothe her breathing while asking with a face full of concern, "How are you? Do you feel better after soaking in the stream?" Gu Mengmeng coughed until tears came out, and she really could not find the time to answer Li's question. Finally, she stopped coughing and stared at Elvis and Leah with her big, watery eyes, who were looking at her as if she was a terminally ill patient. She said, "Who can tell me, what happened?" Elvis held Gu Mingming's chin and stared at her nose. He watched as the glaring redness flowed down the water on her face and into the corner of her lips. His heart ached as if it was being pricked by thousands of needles. Gu Mengmeng tasted a fishy sweetness in her mouth. She touched it with her hand and saw that it was blood. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he asked, "Don't tell me you're so nervous just because I had a nosebleed." Elvis and Leah nodded their heads firmly under Gu Mingming's expectant gaze. Gu Mengmeng was especially speechless. She pinched her nose with one hand and dabbed the water on her forehead and nose with the other, ignoring them for the time being. She raised her head for a long while to make sure that her nosebleed had stopped before lowering her head. She wanted to scold them, but when she met Elvis's and Lee's crazed eyes, she swallowed back her words. She lifted her nose to show it to the two of them and said, "It's all right, it's not bleeding anymore. Look, it's done." Her eyes stared fixedly at Gu Mingming's nose for a long time before Gu Mengmeng heard two long sighs of relief. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. The two of them were so used to killing that they would not even blink even if their own flesh was torn apart. Yet, they almost went crazy because of her nosebleed. They were really drunk. Chapter 9:24. We're not going back to the stone castle, it's too far. Elvis said to Leah, "Find a cave nearby, dig one if there's no suitable one. We'll stay by the stream from now on." Gu Mengmeng exclaimed, Hey, wait a while. Why do we have to stay by the stream? My sons are still in the stone castle. We'll go back to fetch them after we've settled down. Elvis said as he carried Gu Mengmeng towards the shore. They had come out in a hurry and did not bring any beast skin, so Elvis could only use his tail to wrap Gu Mengmeng tightly to prevent her from getting sick from the wind after entering the water. Gu Mengmeng had not seen Elvis pull such a long face at her for a long time, so she felt a little apprehensive. Wasn't it just a nosebleed? It's not like he was cheating on her, why was he so fierce? That, hubby, why are you angry? Gu Mengmeng asked carefully. Elvis stopped in his tracks and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a complicated and deep gaze. He said word by word in a hoarse voice, "I'm not angry, I'm afraid." Gu Mengmeng then looked at Cole, who had been following them all along. She pondered for a moment and felt that it was not possible, but she still opened her mouth to test him. "Are you afraid of Cole?" "Him." "Ha." Elvis laughed scornfully as a reply. Gu Mengmeng thought so too. Elvis had dared to fight Cole head-on when he was 3rd level, not to mention now. But, then what are you afraid of? Why do you have to stay by the stream? Gu Mengmeng really could not understand. Elvis's blue eyes seemed to contain a bottomless black hole, that whirlpool engulfing her within. His voice was very soft, but every word landed on Gu Mingming's heart. "You're bleeding, I'm afraid I'll lose you." Gu Mingming's heart trembled. Bleeding. Gu Mengmeng thought about it and understood. She asked, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, "Because I'm having a nosebleed, so you think I'm dying?" Xiao Meng. This was the first time Elvis shouted at her so sternly. Although it was only 2 words and it was just her name, it was the harshest thing he had ever said to her. But not only was Gu Mengmeng not afraid, she even laughed out loud. Wrapping her arms around Elvis's neck, she said softly, "Silly hubby, my nose is bleeding because we have been eating too much barbecued meat recently. In addition, you were afraid that I would be cold at night, so you always lit a fire in the room to roast me. That's all. My body is very good. I won't die. Don't be afraid." Elvis was skeptical of Gu Mingming's explanation. They ate and lived together with Gu Mengmeng, but why did he, Leah and even the 3 little ones not have a nosebleed, but Gu Mengmeng did? Gu Mengmeng seemed to have seen through Elvis's thoughts and said, "You guys are males, so you must be more patient than me. I'm so delicate, don't you think?" Actually, Gu Mengmeng was mocking herself when she said the word delicate. It was mainly to ease the atmosphere and make Elvis and Leah happy. However, when Elvis and Leah thought about it seriously and nodded their heads in agreement, Gu Mengmeng blushed. She said she was delicate, she probably didn't want her face anymore in the future. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly in his arms, as if he was still worried. He insisted, "Stay by the stream for a few days. I'll bring you back to the stone castle after I'm sure you're fine." Chapter 925. Banning barbecued meat from the menu. Gu Meng Meng could almost imagine Oriton's murderous expression when he heard this news. When they slept, the two of them hugged her together. Wouldn't the attacks she had to endure be multiplied when he unleashed his beastly nature? Was having a nosebleed a heinous crime? Why did he have to punish her like this? Sob, 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 that. I'll confess, I lied. Gu Meng Meng put on a pitiful and sincere look as she admitted her mistake. I saw you and Elvis being too close and thought of some indescribable things, that's why I had a nosebleed. I promised to control my imagination and not to let my imagination run wild in the future. Can we just pretend that nothing happened? Leo was taken aback for a moment, then he reached out and knocked Gu Meng Meng's head. I've already mated with you, you actually still want to push me to someone else? Elvis is not someone else. Gu Meng Meng mumbled softly. Gu Meng Meng. Leah gritted his teeth, growling her full name. Seeing her nosebleed just now, both his and Elvis's hearts almost stopped beating in fear. Heaven knew how afraid they were of losing her just like that, but her nosebleed was actually because she was fantasizing about those things again. I was wrong. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head, not daring to talk back. Leah clenched his fists, really wanting to crush her to death. But before he even lifted his hand, he already knew that he could not bear to hurt even a single strand of her hair. Looking up at Elvis, Leah said unhappily, "You're the first partner, aren't you going to do anything about it?" Elvis's face was black the entire time, only heaven knew that his teeth were about to bleed from clenching so hard. He only replied coldly, "Even you can't do anything to her, but you think I can." Leah glanced at Cole, who was watching the show from the corner of his eyes. His face full of surprise really pissed him off. "Wait a minute, Cole." Leah suddenly laughed and said, "I'm really not in a good mood. Why don't we go home and train the four little ones? I feel that although your father's method of training you was a little cruel, it's not completely without merit. With some slight modifications, it would definitely be suitable for Huda and his brothers." Elvis and Leah had worked together for many years and only needed a second to understand each other. Hence, he curled his lips and revealed a cold smile. "That's good too. I couldn't do anything to their mother, so I could only vent my anger on the four of them. It was only right and proper for a son to repay a mother's debt. I suddenly feel that I can understand what Peter did back then." Gu Meng Meng was really starting to have goosebumps. However, she was certain that the two of them were just scaring her. If they really treated the four little ones like that, she wouldn't just be upset. She would go crazy. Of course, they would be reluctant to do so. But their expressions were too F*** scary. Even though she knew that there was a 9,999% chance that it was just an act, Gu Meng Meng did not dare to bet on that 0.1% chance. Gu Meng Meng hugged Elvis's neck and begged for mercy. "Hubby, I was wrong, I was really wrong. I won't let my thoughts run wild in the future. Don't treat our sons like this, I beg you, I beg you. Why don't you just punish me, dig a hole and bury me inside? Sobs, sobs, sobs. Hubby, after burying me, please let our sons off." Elvis was unmoved and just stared coldly at Gu Meng Meng. Chapter 926. How long had it been since she called him Daddy Leah? He had tried to coax her to call him that when he was in a trance, but she refused. Now, how could he bear to really make her sad? He was just scaring her as punishment. But, any kind of punishment. What kind of fox would he be if he didn't reject a gift that was delivered right to his doorstep? Any kind of punishment. Leah suppressed the urge to smile and asked in a cold voice. Gu Meng Meng nodded her head vigorously and said, "As long as you don't bully my sons, I will accept any kind of punishment." Leah then tapped Gu Meng Meng's little nose with a chuckle and said, "Remember your promise, if you dare to go back on it. I will put the blame on Heda and his brothers. I don't dare to, I definitely won't go back on it. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly waved her hands and shook her head, being extremely obedient. Leah gave Elvis a look and the two of them tacitly decided to forget about this matter. After all, if they continued teasing her and she really cried, they would be the ones who would feel heartache. Seeing that her man's expression had softened, Gu Mengmeng was not too worried that she had sold herself out with her promise just now. After all, no matter how the two of them punished her, it was done on the basis of love and they would not really do anything to her. Gu Mengmeng probably described Gu Mengmeng's current state. Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and asked with a smile, trying to please him, "Then can you tell me now, why did you throw me into the stream?" "I choked just now." Elvis had seen it when she choked on the water. At that time, he was worried about her nosebleed and did not have time to worry about it. Now, his heart really ached for her. Gently rubbing her little head, he said, "I remember the last time you had a nosebleed, you went to the stream and soaked yourself in the water, then you recovered. So, the moment I saw your nosebleed, I immediately brought you to the stream." The last time, Gu Mengmeng tried her best to recall that she had also had a nosebleed when she had just arrived in the beast world. At that time, she had just gotten to know Sandy and that lass had chased after Elvis as if she was about to die, attracting the attention of everyone in the tribe. She had a nosebleed and looked as if she was bidding farewell to a corpse. Thinking of that scene, Gu Mengmeng could not help but smile again. Her little head swayed and her eyes shone brightly. Elvis did not know what Gu Mengmeng was thinking about, but seeing her smile, the corners of his lips curled up unknowingly. When Gu Mengmeng snapped back from her memories, she met Elvis's deep and affectionate eyes. Gu Mengmeng's heart ached at the thought of how flustered he was just now. Because of her nosebleed, Elvis and Leah might really be frightened. To prevent such a thing from happening again, Gu Mengmeng decided to teach them the correct way to handle a nosebleed. After saying that, Elvis and Leah looked at each other. It turned out that as long as he splashed water on his forehead and nose bridge, and then raised his head, he would be fine. So, why did they run to the stream in such a hurry? On the way back, they met Qi Xian and Oakley who were chasing after them. Chapter 927. Gu Mengmeng suddenly felt that she could not understand Oakley at all. He had always acted as if he was her enemy. That look that said no one could stop him from joining forces with Cole to unify the beast world made Gu Mengmeng bitterly disappointed. But just now, she was very sure that Oakley's bloodshot eyes and worried expression were not faked. Faking, he could not fake those minor details. It should be said that it was all thanks to Wang Xiaoxin. Because of her professional knowledge, Gu Mengmeng had a certain level of understanding of a person's micro-expressions. The success rate of lying in front of her now was extremely low. She did not know what Oakley was up to, but she knew that this friend still cared about her. This made Gu Mengmeng feel very comforted. Smiling, Gu Mengmeng replied, "I'm fine, just a little nosebleed." Elvis and Leah were too nervous and caused such a commotion. "Tell everyone to go back, it's fine now." "Yes." Oakley took another look at Gu Mengmeng, before turning around resolutely, hiding all his concern deep in his heart. Did he not dare to show any concern for her? It was impossible for him to be guarding against Leah and Elvis, so he could only be guarding against Cole. Was he not joining forces with Cole? What was he trying to deceive Cole about? Was it related to her? Gu Mengmeng could not figure it out, but it was not her place to probe further. Cole was too smart, especially when it came to manipulating people's hearts. No matter what Oakley was plotting, the chances of success were not high. At this moment, the least she could do was not to spoil his plans. So Gu Mengmeng kept her mouth shut and did not call Oakley. Instead, she allowed him to leave her sight and call her tribesmen back to the city. When she returned to the stone castle, the three little ones and Burke were waiting at the entrance. Seeing her return from afar, the three little ones pounced towards her. "Mummy, what happened? Why did everyone say that you died?" "Died?" Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. She had really witnessed the true meaning of rumors. Saying that she was dying because of a nosebleed, why not say that she had exploded on the spot? Gu Meng Meng jumped down from Elvis's arms and hugged the three little ones in her arms. She comforted them gently and said, "Don't listen to their nonsense. I have your father Beast and Father Leah protecting me. How can I die?" Hedda patted Kanwo and said, "That's right. Moreover, Mother is the messenger of the Beast deity. She said she has someone protecting her." Gu Meng Meng was tickled by Hedda's grown-up look and added, "That's right, Mummy has people above me." Seeing that Gu Meng Meng was fine, Kanwo was relieved. He teased Hedda, I wonder who was the one who looked as though he was struck by lightning. His eyes were dripping with oil. Does that mean Hedda cried just now?" Hedda blushed and said, "Don't talk nonsense, I didn't." Jialyu shook his head and took out a piece of beast skin from the house to pass to Gu Meng Meng. "Mummy, you are drenched. Wrap it up with the beast skin first. Don't fall sick." Gu Meng Meng nodded and took the beast skin from her son to wrap herself up. Then, she kissed Jialyu's little head and said, "Our Jialyu is so considerate." Jialyu chuckled and turned to look at Cole. "Father Leah, aren't you going to boil the water? My mummy is freezing." Cole was first taken aback before he smiled and said, "All right, I'll go boil the water. Aside from the topic, my babies, it's the end of the month. The tickets don't have to expire. Give them to me on account of how hard I worked to save them, yeah. Babies, today's update has ended." Chapter 928. Gu Meng Meng tugged at Jialyu's hand. "Jialyu, isn't he?" Jialyu smiled slyly and said, "I know. You know." Jialyu nodded and said, "I can tell from the way he looks at you, Daddy Leah would never stare at you with that kind of shifty gaze." Gu Meng Meng chuckled and pinched Jialyu's little nose. "Then why did you ask him to boil water?" Jialyu shrugged his shoulders and said, "It would be a waste not to make use of a coolie that was delivered to my doorstep." With that, he pulled Gu Meng Meng's little hand and walked into the house. As he walked, he said, "Let's go in first. If she really gets sick later, we will have to worry." Gu Meng Meng was pulled by Jialyu and Kanwo into the stone castle with one hand each. Hedda followed behind Gu Meng Meng silently and turned to look at Qi Xian, who had walked over to Cole's side to help. Even though Qi Xian looked like a 17 or 18-year-old lad and he looked like a 6 or 7-year-old child. But he knew that it was his younger brother, a brother who was very close to the enemy. Elvis's ginger slices boiled water resurfaced and Gu Meng Meng drank 2 whole bowls of it before Elvis stopped. Although Jialyu had ordered Cole to boil the water, Qi Xian was actually the one who boiled the bath water for Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng had no qualms about enjoying her son's care. At least it was more comfortable than the bath water Cole boiled for her. The rooms on the second floor were Gu Meng Meng's bottom line. She would never allow Cole to step foot on the second floor. And Cole did not insist. He just sat beside the fire pit in the hall on the first floor and looked at the dancing flames, deep in thought. He felt that Gu Meng Meng was becoming more interesting. She had clearly tamed Leah and Elvis, but when they were by the stream, she was like a docile and harmless little rabbit, cozying up to those 2 fellows in a pitiful manner. She had the strength of a beast king. A single slap would have been enough to make these 2 fellows submit, but they had to swallow their anger and beg for mercy. Cole, who had witnessed everything from the shore, could clearly remember the surging feeling in his chest at that time. Jealousy, it was a unique kind of jealousy. He had never been so jealous of Leah before. Even when he was ignored by everyone and Leah was the center of attention, his jealousy was not as strong as now. No one in the entire beast world could compare to her gentle eyes. He really did want her. Just thinking about how that pair of eyes would one day be branded on his body without moving an inch, just thinking about it made him very excited. This night, Cole did not stay in the stone castle. Instead, he walked out after midnight. No one cared where he went. All they knew was that he had returned to the stone castle the next morning. Last night, a tribe was attacked by stray beasts. Not a single person in the tribe survived. The tribe's most beautiful female died in her own cave. She looked dispirited and messy, but her twisted expression did not look like she had been tortured. Instead, it looked like she was enjoying herself. Gu Mengmeng completely ignored Cole and allowed him to continue wasting air in front of her because of Qi Xian. The three little ones were still traumatized by yesterday's incident, so when they saw Gu Mengmeng return last night, they immediately told Burke that they would not look for him for the next few days. They wanted to accompany their mother well. Burke naturally did not force them. He only left after confirming that Gu Mengmeng was fine. After breakfast, Gu Mengmeng said that she wanted to visit Sandy. Elvis and Leah brought her and the three little ones over. Digression, Cole, did you notice? When Gu looks at others, her gaze is as gentle as water. Only when she looks at me, her gaze is as strong as wine. Chapter 929. Cole followed closely behind. Even though he was just a step away, he still seemed out of place. He would never be able to blend into their scenes, and could only follow them like a demon. Qi Xian followed beside Cole, and even though he belonged to the bright side, he still hid himself in the shadows. If not for that, Gu Mengmeng could have completely destroyed Cole. Qi Xian knew that his choice had caused trouble for his mother. He was very apologetic, but he did not regret it. Even if one day, his mother was sick of the shackles he had created and killed him, he would not regret it. After all, that evil person in everyone's eyes was the one who had woken him up from his long slumber, and trained him little by little when he could not even stand up due to his prolonged coma. Most of his memories were related to him. Having depended on each other for so long, Qi Xian had already treated Cole as the most important person in his life. Moreover, he was indebted to him. He could only repay this debt himself. When Gu Mengmeng arrived at Sandy's place, Bode had already prepared lunch. Elvis handed Gu Mengmeng over to Leah, before bringing the three little ones with him to an empty space outside the tribe to begin their training. Gu Mengmeng felt that there was no need to rush. After all, Colin's hand had just been injured yesterday, shouldn't he rest for a few days? But Elvis and Colin both said that males were not so fragile, as long as Lee's splint was not removed, it would not be a big problem. Colin was more desperate than anyone else to raise his own abilities. After all, he was the strongest partner in Sandy's family. If he could be promoted again, the entire family's fighting power would rise by another level. Seeing that she could not stop them, Gu Mengmeng instructed Elvis to be careful and not to aggravate Colin's injuries. Sandy also told Colin not to be stubborn, and then let them leave. Cole did not leave. Instead, it was as if he did not understand Sandy's family's wariness and disgust, as well as Gu Mengmeng's disregard. He just followed Gu Mengmeng quietly, without saying or doing anything unnecessary. After having lunch at Sandy's place and chatting with her for a while, Gu Mengmeng prepared to return to the stone castle. After all, Sandy was pregnant and needed more rest. If she was here, it would be difficult for Sandy to relax and rest well, not to mention that Cole was following her. The moment she stepped out of Sandy's house, she felt a familiar beast pressure. Well, now, there were not many people who dared to release their beast pressure in front of Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and jumped down from Lee's arms. She took 2 steps forward, and when she looked up, the huge snake head was already inches away from her. Gu Mengmeng smiled innocently with curved eyebrows, but she did not hold back at all when she struck. With a slap on the lower jaw of the snake, the entire snake was flipped over and fell backward. With a loud bang, the ground shook a few times. Gu Meng Meng walked over and stepped on Wabi-Ai's tail. She glared at Wabi-Ai like a female bandit. "Hey, little shit, you are asking for a beating again." Wabi-Ai felt refreshed from the slap and his bones loosened up significantly. He tilted his head and transformed back into human form. "Tutang," he pushed Gu Mingming's foot away from his ankle and said, "What do you mean by asking for a beating? I'm here to challenge you." Chapter 930. Wabi-Ai ignored Gu Mingming's teasing. He dusted his hands and stood up. Then, he glanced at Cole behind Gu Meng Meng and raised his brows. Why did you bring all kinds of trash back home? This kind of trash, and a crippled stray beast at that. How could you swallow him?" Gu Meng Meng held her forehead. "Are you blind? Which eye of yours saw me wanting him?" Wabi-Ai nodded with a "you're right" look and agreed with her. "I think so too. With snakes setting your aesthetic standards, no matter what, you shouldn't be interested in this kind of defective product. Then what's wrong with him? He's sticking to you like glue. Doesn't your little wolf cub care about him?" Little wolf cub, indeed, the 16-year-old Elvis could only be considered a little wolf cub in front of the 800-year-old Wabi-Ai. But she was already feeling very awkward. She had become an old cow at the age of 19 to eat Elvis. Yet, Wabi-Ai kept bringing up the issue of age to make things difficult for her. Gu Meng Meng pinched her brows and sighed. "Little shit, I feel that I was too light with my slap just now. Why don't we go for another 300 rounds? What do you say?" Wabi-Ai did not know that he had stepped into Gu Mingming's minefield by calling her a little wolf. He just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Forget it, I'm used to being beaten up 300 times by you, so it's nothing much, but when your hand starts hurting, Snake will blame me for making you suffer." Gu Mingming's eyes widened. Gu Meng Meng grabbed Wabi-Ai's forearm with both hands. She looked up at him. "But I really want to hit someone now. How do I break this?" Actually, she wanted to grab his shoulder. But, the difference in height was really cruel and torturous. Wabi-Ai pointed at Cole behind Gu Meng Meng. "Hit him. Isn't he a ready masochist?" Gu Meng Meng turned back to look at Cole. She thought that if she hit him, Gu Meng Meng might not be able to control herself and just slap him to death. But if she really slapped him to death, Qi Xian would definitely blame her. Then, she would really lose this son of hers. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. "It's too disgusting to slap a cockroach with my bare hands. I can't bear to do it." Wabi-Ai laughed heartily and said, "Why does it sound like you hit me because you think highly of me? Should I be grateful?" Gu Meng Meng nodded in agreement. But Wabi-Ai scoffed in disdain, before turning to walk back with Gu Meng Meng shoulder to shoulder. As they walked, he reported the situation of the Snake King Valley after the end of winter. In the past, with Snake around, no one dared to enter the Snake King Valley. And in the first winter after Snake left, some of the more daring orcs started plotting against the Snake King Valley. During winter, the snake beasts needed to hibernate and they were basically in a state where they were at the mercy of others. Hence those people sneaked into the Snake King Valley and found a few caves where the hibernating snake beasts lived. They wanted to eat the hibernating snake beasts to raise their own powers. Well, a few snake beasts did die, but those who sneaked in didn't make it out alive. Although the snake beast was in hibernation and could not actively attack, its venom was still present. After those fools ate the snake beast, they couldn't even take 3 steps before they bled from their 7 orifices and died on the spot. Chapter 931. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. You massacred their tribe. Wabi shook his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng as though she was a retard. If I had that much free time, I would have just massacred them. Why would I send the corpses? Gu Mengmeng agreed. Sending the corpses was a warning to them. She wanted to tell them that this was the consequence of attacking the Snake King Valley. If they were going to be killed, why would they send the corpses? Wasn't that the same as taking off one's pants to fart? Moreover, I came to look for you the moment winter ended. I went to Saint Nazaire first but came to no avail. Your family's paralyzed tiger told me you were here and I rushed here from Saint Nazaire. Look at the time, I don't have the time to go massacre some tribe. Wabi said confidently with a look of disdain. Gu Mengmeng nodded in agreement. Then why was their tribe annihilated? Wabi laughed dryly. They were afraid that the Snake King Valley would take revenge on them, so they disbanded their tribe and joined other tribes. But strangely, none of them went to Saint Nazaire or Sauter to seek refuge with you. Don't they know that I am no match for you and that being under you is the safest place? Gu Mengmeng shook her head with a chuckle. I am the saintess of the Snake King Valley. Seeking refuge with me, isn't that walking right into a trap? Wabi laughed. That's right, you are the real Demon King hiding behind the scenes. Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes at Cole. She politely declined the title of Demon King. Not long after returning to the stone castle, Elvis brought his 3 sons back. Oakley came along with them as well. After Oakley entered, he first bowed to Gu Mengmeng. Then, he looked at Wabi. Great messenger, although Wabi is your friend, shouldn't stray beasts keep a low profile when entering Sauter? Gu Mengmeng was speechless. She looked at Cole. Why don't you care about him? Oakley's expression did not change. Be it Cole or Wabi, I can't stop them with my current abilities. But in any case, this is the messenger's tribe. Since we've come in, we shouldn't make a big fuss, right? Gu Mengmeng understood now. Although Cole was also a stray beast, he rarely appeared in public during his time in Sauter. Yesterday, he had been running around with Gu Mengmeng and was also wearing Li's face. But today, Wabi had barged in and used his main body to strut around. Come to think of it, the appearance of the 5th level stray snake must have caused quite a lot of controversy in Sauter. Gu Mengmeng shrugged. Wabi is my friend. If it is not convenient for him to stay here, I will leave with him. Leave? Oakley frowned and said, Lord Messenger cannot leave for the time being. Oh. Gu Mengmeng frowned and said, since when did you decide where I should go? Oakley replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I naturally don't dare to restrict the great messenger's freedom, it's just that, the people in the beast world have been in a state of panic recently. After knowing that the messenger is staying in Sauter temporarily, a few tribe leaders have already sent people over to seek an audience with you. To prevent unrest in the beast world, it was better for the great messenger to meet him. After all, the trouble was caused by the Snake King Valley. Gu Mengmeng raised her brows. She instantly understood. Chapter 932. The meeting with the visiting tribe leaders was set for 10 days later. Gu Mengmeng had wanted to meet them in the meeting room. After all, it was a discussion and it should be more formal. But the management team led by Oakley had unanimously rejected the idea. The reason was, that stone tablet with the 36 stratagems carved on it was a sacred object worshipped by Sauter and could not be seen by outsiders. Gu Mengmeng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had just casually memorized the text and her office had turned into an ancestral hall. Forget it, it's the same no matter where we meet. Gu Mengmeng did not insist and so Oakley arranged for the meeting to be held on the afternoon of the 10th day. A complete white tiger skin was laid on the deity's altar and on the back of the tiger skin was a high-backed stone chair. The stone chair was laid with a huge white rabbit skin. Gu Mengmeng sat lazily on the stone chair with her elbow propped against the back of the stone chair. She supported her chin with the back of her hand and looked down at the long wooden table that was hastily made below the deity's altar. There was a row of people sitting around the wooden table. Gu Mengmeng counted and there were 26 of them. They were all males in pairs. She guessed that they were the tribe leaders and witch doctors of the various tribes. Elvis and Leah stood on both sides of Gu Mengmeng with a faint, cold smile on their lips. The people sitting at this table were all old acquaintances. They had fought with Elvis when he was a vagabond, fallen into a well when Leah was in dire straits, killed each other when they were fighting for territory, and there were also a few from the tribes near Saint Nazaire. Yeah, there were even more conflicts. To think that there would be a day when these people could sit at the same table quietly. This scene was really unique. Sitting on the high seat, Gu Mengmeng could clearly see the minute expressions on everyone's faces. Thanks to Wang Xiaoxin, even though they had tried their best to suppress their uneasiness, Gu Mengmeng could still tell that they were not confident about her taking in those tribesmen. They all knew that Gu Mengmeng had inherited all of Snake's abilities and memories, but who knew if she had also inherited his personality? He was a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and gave Oakley a look. Oakley, who was standing at the side of the altar, took a step forward and spoke first. Various leaders and witch doctors have come from afar. Oakley, as the city lord of Sauder, welcomes all of you. Actually, the people of the beast world were really not good at nor were they used to such elaborate formalities. As such, after Oakley finished his welcome speech, everyone looked at each other and did not know how to respond. Wabi leisurely walked out from the shade. Due to his identity, he did not go up to the altar. Instead, he stood beside Oakley and leaned against the edge of the altar. Before he could speak, the 26 people who were sitting at the original spot stood up as though someone had stepped on a power source. They looked at Wabi with a guarded stance. Wabi snorted in disdain. What's the point of saying such useless things? If you want the Snake King Valley to let you go, what do you intend to use in exchange? Everyone was taken aback, before instinctively looking at Gu Mengmeng. After all, she was the one with the highest authority here. Even Wabi had to act according to her wishes. Only when she gave the order would the final decision be made. Chapter 933. The 26 of them looked at each other. They all had something to say but didn't have the guts to do so. Elvis sneered. I've never seen you cower before when you were fighting for your lives, but now you sound like you're being strangled by someone. Did you come all the way here just to pretend to be mute? Elvis's words agitated the 26 of them. No matter where they came from, they were all the same. Provocation was the most unbearable. Otherwise, the Northeast's "what are you looking at" would not have become a popular phrase for a fight. One of the 26 looked up and spoke first. Mighty Messenger, we did take in some new tribesmen. But they are not the ones who went to ambush the Snake King Valley. They are innocent. Before Gu Mengmeng could speak, Leah whispered into her ear. The one who spoke is Leonard, the leader of the Zacharias tribe. He is a 4th-level tiger beast. The one standing beside him is called Nick. He is a witch doctor and a 2nd-level armadillo. They are quite far from Saint Nazaire and have not had many encounters with us. But they are closer to Peter's territory. Yet, they have never had any females snatched from them. Clearly, they are very powerful. Gu Mengmeng nodded to indicate that she understood. Then, without any special expression on his face, he maintained a casual look and said, I'm innocent. What kind of place is the Snake King Valley? How can a few people withstand the harsh cold and find their way to the entrance in such a cold season? Would you believe me if I told you? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The truth was, they didn't believe it. Not to mention finding the entrance, just venturing out during winter was a matter of life and death. Otherwise, why would winter be called the season of death? In this kind of weather, it was impossible to find the mysterious entrance. So, the only explanation was that they had planned this beforehand. They had already scouted out the path to the Snake King Valley and then lay in ambush nearby. They would wait for 3 to 5 days for the cold to descend, ensuring that all the snake beasts were hibernating before entering. And such an operation could not be carried out without external help. In other words, the few males who entered were the suicide squad of the tribe. If they succeeded, the tribe's power would increase greatly. And the Snake King Valley had tens of thousands of snakes. Who would know if a few were missing? If they failed, the few of them would die on the spot. The rest would just have to split up and say that they were innocent and they could stay out of this. To put it bluntly, it was a huge gamble. The price of victory or defeat was the rise of the tribe or the fall of the tribe. Regardless of the era, there were always gamblers. This gambler was not only the members of the Dare to Die team, but also everyone in their tribe. Gu Mengmeng was such a dazzling presence in the beast world that it was too easy to find her. Wasn't Fei Rui the best example? But everyone obviously knew that she was the sacred maiden of the Serpent King Valley, but not a single one of them came to inform her, wasn't it? Now that things have come to this, you want to use an excuse of innocent to settle the matter. Did he really treat Gu Mengmeng as a fool? The atmosphere instantly turned solemn. Gu Mengmeng could clearly see fear on the faces of the 26 people. It had nothing to do with whether she had revealed her Beast King's aura. It could only be said that they had a guilty conscience. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.